there was an attempted escape back in like the 70s where somebody tried to fly in with a helicopter to pick up an inmate. And I guess too many inmates tried to jump on this helicopter and it crashed. We do really struggle with drones. Anytime we see a drone, we're like, okay, got to shut down the compound, send everybody back, pat search everybody, make sure that they didn't have any drugs dropped. They'll get your license plate number, run your plates, and find out where you live.
Hello and welcome back to the Alex Witherow Show. Today I have a very unique guest. His name is Bob Hostler, and he is a prison chaplain of the United States Department of Justice. Bob, great to have you here.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This is awesome.
Yeah, so this is certainly something kind of out of the realm of what we normally do on this show. And as always, I'm just trying to find interesting people to talk to.
Right.
When I saw your name recently, I thought to myself, oh, yeah, he's got some interesting stories. So tell me, I mean, how did you get into this originally?
Yeah, so I was a pastor for a lot of years, worked at a church, worked at a couple different churches, recently had graduated seminary and went to go live in Jackson, Mississippi, of all places in the South. And when I was working at this church, they put me in charge of the prison ministry on the church side of it. So we would just go in, volunteer at Central Mississippi Correctional Facility. And as a volunteer, I kind of fell in love with the idea of ministering to inmates. And so I thought, you know what, I can go in full time with this, and signed on with the Department of Justice, which was like a 9-month interview process. You have to get investigated by the FBI, all this stuff to get your security clearance.
Yeah.
And from there, it's history. I signed on with the DOJ, was brought into the federal prison system, and I've been serving as a chaplain now for a couple years.
Interesting. And you were transferred to Miami about a year or two ago, right?
It's where I started. So the state prison and the federal prison are just completely unrelated. And so this has been my first prison here in Miami, which is interesting, not speaking any Spanish coming down here.
Yeah, so I would imagine most of the inmates here mostly speak Spanish.
For the most part, we have a residential drug rehabilitation program in our prison here in Miami, and it's Spanish speaking only. So they transfer in inmates from all over the country. And one of the prerequisites is that you have to be Spanish speaking only. So like half of my prison is speaks only Spanish.
So half speak English, half speak Spanish. I would hope your Spanish has improved in the last year.
Poquito, a little bit. Yeah, being in Miami, a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know what is the right Spanish. When you're down here, you start to realize that not all Spanish is the same, right? From Cuban to Puerto Rican to Venezuelan. So I don't know which Spanish I'm learning correctly. All I know is that my schoolroom Spanish probably isn't going to make the cut.
Yeah, that's interesting. So tell me, I mean, what's a typical day like for you right now?
Yeah, no, it's an interesting question. Going from being a pastor in a church to being a pastor in the federal prison system.
Yeah, a little different clientele.
Right, yeah, I have a captive audience, right? Yeah. But it looks different every day. Being a chaplain, you have to be available for all different faith denominations. So when people are incarcerated, they still have their First Amendment rights to be able to worship and practice their religion. And so that necessitates a chaplain to be able to understand all the different faith groups and to regulate and to make sure that people are advocated for in their faith denomination. So every single day looks a little bit different. On a Friday, I'm opening our doors for our Muslim community to come in and do Jummah. On a Friday night, I'm opening our doors for our Jewish community to come in and do Shabbat. On Sundays, I'm preaching to my Christian congregation. On Mondays, I've got Buddhists. So every single day is a little bit different with some regularities.
Wow, you have become an expert at all world religions at this point.
Not yet. I think as time goes on, I'll grow a little bit more, but I've learned a lot about all the different faith groups. And especially one of the unique ones down here in Miami is Santeria. You don't see, I've never seen a Santero before outside of Miami, but it's very Cuban, right?
Yeah.
And so we see a lot of Santeria in our prison down here.
I mean, do they allow for chickens and roosters to be sacrificed?
No, right. No. And with each faith group, there's limits, right? Like you're incarcerated, but no, you can't take out a chicken. That said, we have had family members throw over headless chickens over our fences before. And there have been staff members to walk out to their car and to find a dead chicken on their car.
Wow.
And it's a Santero family that
they really want those chickens.
Yeah. They either really love their family member or really hate all the chickens around here. So.
Yeah. I've always heard that that's why there's so many chickens running around like Calle Ocho in Miami, is because they're trying to escape the Santeros.
Oh, see, I was wondering the same thing. So now we put those two things together.
No, that was new for me when I first moved here. I was like, why are there so many roosters and chickens running around?
Yeah, for the people not in Miami, they need to understand that there's chickens everywhere. Yeah, that was one of the biggest surprises for me as well. No,
that's interesting. So, okay, let's kind of, I want to kind of paint the full picture here. What kinds? Is the prison you're in? I mean, what type of criminals do we have in there? It's
everything. Federal prison is kind of unique, right?
Okay, so it's federal prison.
Yeah.
So this is like kind of the big leagues of prison.
No, not necessarily.
Okay, so it's not like Supermax.
No, we do have a Supermax in Colorado, but the prison that I work at is a combo. It's a low and a camp. So it's really either people that have worked their way down the system or people that don't have as serious of crimes.
Okay. Is this like Club Med for like financial crimes?
Some. Yeah. Okay. So that's what makes it so
it's like
unique.
It's kind of an intermediary.
Right. Yeah. It makes it very unique because on one hand, we've got people that are like super Martha Stewart crimes, right? Like it was like insider trading, like very white collar.
Yeah.
On the other side of things, you have people that potentially committed foreign terror crimes, right? Like we have in federal prison, it's either super Martha Stewart or super like terrorists. Like we have actual terrorists in our prisons.
And so there's like true blue murderers in there as well.
Of course. Yeah. So if you've committed a crime, you've murdered somebody, stolen a car, if you do that across state line, that's where it becomes federal, right? Because you're not going to, would you get prosecuted in this state or this state? Well, it becomes a federal crime. And many of them are prosecuted on a federal level, which drops them into a federal prison. So it's really a melting pot of a lot of different criminals.
I mean, do you feel like, I mean, I would think if I'm like in this prison with a wide variance of criminals, if I'm like, a Martha Stewart criminal who's just done some kind of insider trading, I think this would be a little intimidating.
And those guys don't know the politics of prison.
Yeah,
and so
I bet they don't.
And that's right. So that's where it gets a little sketchy.
I watched Sons of Anarchy. I know enough.
right. And hopefully some of them have watched Sons of Anarchy too to know what not to say, the things not to do. But a lot of them don't. And so that's where it gets a little bit messy in prison because you got guys that have been incarcerated for 25, 30 years at a pen, at a Supermax, working their way down. So they know all the politics. They know what to say and what not to say. And then you've got guys that are doing
So when you say
months.
What to say, what not to say, I mean, what are the ramifications of saying the wrong thing?
Well, yeah. So
do you get, I assume you get beat up. That's obvious.
Sure. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. So
you probably could get stabbed.
Yeah.
Maybe raped.
Right. Any of that.
Are these guys are you kind of like a life preserver, life raft in this place?
I can be. Yeah. It sometimes people will sometimes check themselves in if they feel like their life is at risk. They will check themselves in a couple ways. They'll either go straight to lieutenant's office and start, saying, "Hey, I need protection," or they'll fight somebody smaller than them. When we were doing our Christmas services, my first year trying to do a Christmas service in prison as a pastor, I'm used to being able to put on Christmas services in the community, and it's a very, well-attended service. And this is my first Christmas in prison. I'm trying to put on my service, and it started at 10 a.m. And it just kept getting later and later and later because almost every single hour there was a fight. And we're calling paramedics, people are getting sent out, people getting brought back.
Right.
And a lot of it was people checking in.
So when there's a fight, it's not like people slapping each other. It's like people are like losing teeth and bloody.
Yeah.
It's like a real deal fight.
Right.
Yeah.
And so this particular Christmas, a guy got his head beat in with a pipe. And
subtle.
Right. So that shut down my church service, man.
You're like, I'm mad now.
Right. But the rumor was that there was a list of all of the sex offenders that had been leaked. And so the guy, I guess, that had got beaten up was a sex offender, and that puts a target on your back in prison.
Yeah,
obviously.
I've heard of that. Yeah.
And so all the other sex offenders got nervous. Oh my gosh, there's a list, and we're all being targeted.
Do they band together, I would assume?
So, no, well, it's like some people kind of know who the other sex offenders are, and some people don't. Everybody's trying to keep it under wraps, right? Like nobody wants everybody to know if they're an SO, a sex offender.
Yeah.
And so when there's this rumor that there's a list going on, everybody started checking in. And so as a sex offender, you're going and fighting the smallest guy. And when you get in a fight, you get thrown in the SHU, special housing unit.
Yeah.
And so that's solitary. So that's a way to find safety, is if you get in a fight,
I see.
you get thrown in the SHU.
Yeah.
And it's also a way to not look like a snitch.
Yeah.
And so some of these guys will go and fight somebody smaller than them.
And just to save themselves. Mm-hmm. Interesting. And how long do they go into solitary confinement?
It depends. They'll launch an investigation on it immediately, because then you're getting into, they have this much good time left. Like, you're getting into their case. And so if they're losing good time or adding good time, it's all based on, the actions that they take. Yeah. And so there'll be an investigation on that. Like the guy who got hit, he could just be a random guy that got beat up in order for the other guy to get checked into the SHU. But on paper, it looks like he's fighting people. And so they've got to get to the bottom of that. Like, was he actually an active participant, or was he just a target of somebody, and why?
So they're really digging into what's going on. Inside.
They have to know the politics, right?
Interesting.
Yeah, they have to.
Do they have kind of like, fake prisoners who are on the inside who are pretending, like, just to kind of figure out like what's going on?
If they do, they haven't told me.
Yeah. Well, you probably wouldn't hear that one.
No. Yeah. No, they don't tell the chaplain if that's the case. But no, I think they definitely have inmates that are snitches, right? They have inmates that's prison talk. Like, it's that will, go and tell where the cell phones are, where the contraband is, where the drugs are, how it's getting in. But that's more so I think that the investigation unit will see somebody that is in need, and they'll bribe them. They'll give them special privileges as an inmate in order to offer information.
Wow. So, I mean, this is like, you see movies like Shawshank Redemption. Yeah. It's not too far from the truth.
Yeah, no.
I mean, it sounds like it's just kind of crazy.
Right. And I don't know who directed
So I would imagine you have like special immunity. Like, if you beat up the chaplain, like, all hell's going to break loose.
That's the hope, right? Yeah. Is that
like, I hope so.
even if they aren't active in their religion, that they're at least superstitious enough to not fight the chaplain. Yeah. Like, don't go and stab the chaplain.
Have you ever been in a situation where you like really feared for your safety?
There's been times where you kind of sense like, this isn't a good situation, because you're in there and I don't have a weapon. I mean, you don't have a gun, right? Like, because that would be a bigger liability. Yeah. You don't have a staff. That would be a big liability. So when you're in there and you're shoulder to shoulder with the inmates, really all that you've got is OC spray. And
is that like a like mace or something?
Yeah, it's like a bear spray.
Yeah.
And a stab vest. And so every day I show up with my OC spray, a stab vest, and a radio. And I'm there to meet with the guys to try to make a difference in their lives. But I also have to keep in the back of my mind that this could be a situation that could get out of hand quick. And if you are in that situation, you're really not even trying to fight back, right? Like, even if I had a weapon, I'm not trying to fight back these inmates, because the ratios are crazy. We have 1,000 inmates, and at any time it could be, 50, 100 to 1. So it doesn't matter if I had a weapon, I wouldn't be able to win.
You could be outnumbered in 2 seconds.
Yeah. So in that case, you hit a body alarm on your radio and help comes. And so if the body alarm goes off, the control center tells all available staff members, hey, body alarm in the chapel. So in their minds, they're thinking, I'm being assaulted. So everybody runs towards the violence.
Yeah.
And so I just try to preserve myself enough, if that day comes until help comes. So
you've been in there a little over a year now, right?
Yeah.
Have you had to hit the body alarm yet?
I have not had to. I have on accident.
Okay.
So, which happens all the time.
Yeah.
Somebody will be, eating a hamburger, drop some sauce on their radio, and go to wipe it and hit that body alarm. But the sketchy thing is, you don't know. So, like, there's body alarms all the time where the body alarm's going off and they're just saying, hey, body alarm over in A unit. And you're just like, you just get up and run. It doesn't matter if you're on a phone call, on a Zoom call, you're closing out your computer, you're locking your door, and you run towards the violence.
Yeah.
And you don't know what you're running towards. Frequently, it's an accident. Oops, I accidentally hit my button. But that adrenaline will start to kick.
So you're having all kinds of services: Christian, Muslim, Jewish, Buddha. Am I missing anyone?
Yes, there's 18 different religions.
So like every day you've got like a new group coming in.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean that we have anybody that practices that. Like, I don't think we have any active Hindus in my prison right now. Okay. We have space for them if we do get a Hindu and they want to come and practice their faith.
They don't strike me as like a violent bunch.
Yeah, no, for sure. There's definitely some religions that have tendencies that are a little more sketchy than other religions, right?
Really? Which ones?
You're going to get me in trouble now. You're going to get me in trouble. I'm not going to go there.
Okay. Well, you throw that out there. I got to ask. Interesting. So let me ask you. I mean, so you're talking with these guys on a regular basis. What are some of the things they're saying to you?
Yeah, it can be a lot of things. Usually it has to do. Every inmate in prison is always trying to get something. Everybody's got an angle. Mm-hmm. They're always trying to upgrade, whatever they can. And so it's usually like, hey, this officer stopped me. I've got some jewelry or a wristband. This is for my faith, but, this officer said I couldn't have it. It's usually like a Jewish inmate saying, oh, I want to start eating kosher meals. So I've got to put them on a kosher food plan, which that's got an angle there. Yeah. A lot of guys are like, oh, if I can go get kosher food, sell it back in the unit, go back and hit mainline again. So everybody's got to hustle.
There's like multiple things going on at once.
All the time.
Wow. Interesting. So do they see, would you say it's advantageous in prison to subscribe to some form of religion for the sake of the benefits?
Yes. Again, this isn't, for sure, there's certain faith groups that it would be more advantageous because they have better holidays, because their rights, are potentially getting honored more. So inmates will play this game where they will be, oh, I'm Jewish right now, so I can hit Passover. And then, oh, I want to change my religion to Muslim so I can do Ramadan. Yeah. And then, oh, I want to change, back to Christians to hit Easter and Christmas. Oh, but I'm Jewish again for the high holidays. So they'll play all those games in order to get what they can. And it's kind of like they're collecting pieces while they're in prison. Interesting. Yeah.
So they're, and like nobody really questions them about like, if they're a Muslim one month and they're a Christian the next month.
Yeah, because it's like, who am I to say what you believe, right?
Right.
And so what we can do is try to regulate, the things that they're participating in. And so it's like, if you participate in Passover, that's your one ceremonial meal for the year. And even if you switch to Muslim, you can do the fasting part of Ramadan, but maybe you can't get some of the special product orders that they would have.
Interesting.
So, yeah, there's ways that we try to, navigate that, but I mean, they got all day and all night to think about how to break the rules, and they will think of every angle, and then they'll tell their buddy. Yeah. And then you get 10 guys trying to do it. So
you're constantly being approached with agendas.
Oh, all the time. Yeah. Right. And that's probably one of the differences between state and federal prison too, right? Like state crimes are usually very reactionary crimes. Like I lost my cool and I, beat up my neighbor, versus federal crimes are oftentimes very calculated. So you have a lot of very calculated individuals in there. Yeah. With all their agendas, right?
Yeah. Interesting. So, I mean, I guess what's your mindset in this? I mean, you come from a pastoral background. Obviously, as a pastor, you're trying to win souls for Christianity, for Jesus, right? Are you in the same mindset in prison, or are you just trying to like survive these guys?
No, yeah, it's you're in the same mindset, but you got to be guarded. Yeah. And your benevolence could be your weakness.
Exactly.
So that's where it's like, if you've got a bleeding heart, then that could become a liability.
So you have to be really kind of shrewd in this environment. Yeah.
You've got to be good at judging right away. Yeah. Where people are at, and if they're sincere. And there are guys that over time you think, okay, yeah, I really truly believe that this is a sincere guy, but you kind of have to start with your
Guard up.
your guard up, your
Yeah.
walls up, making sure that you're safe first and that you're maintaining a secure and orderly environment. And after you've done that, then you can start in that safety context, start to practice being a pastor.
Okay, so I guess for you, the process, I mean, how long does it take to really build trust with someone in the prison?
I don't know if there's a set amount of time. I would say it more so has to do with a quantity of doing what you say you're going to do. Being in federal prison, there's a lot of federal employees that are, and I don't want to get on my soapbox with this one, but are there to collect a paycheck and don't want to do, and are trying to do as little as possible.
Right.
And
that's
so
kind of common for the government.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you've got inmates that get spun around all day. They need something. Oh, go talk to this person. Oh, well, they won't be here till Friday. We'll wait till Friday. They get there on Friday. Oh, go talk to this. They're not here till the next Monday. So they're getting spun around.
It's like the
all
DMV
the time.
inside prison.
I know, training them for the real world,
Yeah.
for the DMV.
Yeah.
But they're getting spun around all day. And so really the way to win trust is let your yes be yes and let your no be no.
Yeah.
And you do what you say you're going to do. And that means the world. And they'll know. They'll figure out right away if you're there to pick up a paycheck or if you actually care. And they can read that easy because that's all they, day and night, all they do is study you, right?
Yeah,
like you go to work, they live there.
Is that kind of disconcerting for you? Like does it, like, it feels like you're like a rat being watched by 1,000 eagles
all the time. Yeah. It's funny. The first time I stepped into a prison, you get that feeling, you get all the eyes on you. And, I've heard it said like walking into a prison is what a woman feels like walking to a gym.
Yeah.
Like, it's like all eyes on you. You're like, oh man, this is pretty crazy.
I mean, what was that first like for you?
It was, that because when you walk into a prison, you've got it's called a sally port where it's got two doors and only one can open at a time. And then the other one opens. And so you are in a hallway and then the other door opens and then you're in there shoulder to shoulder with these guys. And when that first time that door closes behind you and you know that, man, I got a radio, I got a stab vest. It can feel a little bit scary. Like what, you're thinking of what your move is going to be in order to save yourself or to save others. It can be pretty scary the first time for sure.
Yeah. I would imagine that it takes a little time to get used to that.
Yeah. No, and you get used to it. There's a little bit of a wait, I would say, maybe for the first couple months of like, okay, is this the day that I'm going to be fighting another grown man at work? Like imagine you work at Staples and you're like, is this the day I'm going to be fighting somebody at work? But yeah, you kind of walk in with your guard up in that way. And I think that will take a little bit of a toll on you. But then after a while, you start to kind of get your bearings. You start to recognize your surroundings. You understand what your response would be to all these different situations. And from that point on, it gets a little bit better.
Yeah, definitely. What have been some of the craziest things you've seen to date?
There's been a lot. Craziest is a relative term, right? Like, yeah, I mean, you see,
I'm sure the first month crazy was surpassed by month 6.
Right. I mean, this last week, there was a guy whose face was bloodied up, there was a guy who's 6'8" fighting a guy that was, 5'8", and the 5'8" guy didn't do so well, and blood everywhere. We body alarm, run over there. Both the guys get taken out. One of the guys gets sent to the hospital. He's fine. But so you see a lot of that, like violence, and that's something that you'd have to prepare for if you haven't been in that environment.
So there's just constant like battles.
No, I wouldn't say constant battles.
Okay.
Not at my prison.
Yeah.
For sure at like a pen, I would say every day throughout the day, there's going to be a lot of violence throughout the day.
Yeah.
But a lot of the nonsense that I see is like just inmates figuring stuff out, which is kind of cool. Like my first day there, we get a report that an inmate had got sent to medical, and he got sent to medical because he had a full like 6-inch carrot shoved up his butt. He had a full carrot shoved up his butt. Which is ironic because we don't even sell full-length carrots, or we don't even have full-length carrots in our food service.
How did that show up?
We have like baby carrots, right?
Yeah.
So one, how do you get a full-length carrot? And two, why is it up his butt? So he goes to medical because it's stuck, and the physician is like, well, how'd it get up there? and he has the audacity to tell a medical professional that he swallowed it whole, and that it made its way all the way down his body and got stuck there at the end. He said it.
Interesting theory, but not wrong.
Yeah. Right. So we call it the prison pocket, which is up the butt.
Yeah.
So he got a carrot stuck up his prison pocket. But that stuff, I mean, it's not violence. It's just nonsense, right?
Yeah.
Like just kind of, dumb things that they do, but a lot of impressive things too.
It's all guys, right?
All men at ours. Yeah. We have a couple guys that try to be women, but they're men.
How do you deal with that?
The guys that try to be women.
Yeah. Do you have to respect their pronouns?
Yes, and they can only get pat searched by a female officer.
Okay.
So there's like some ground rules around that.
Yeah.
And it's very obvious to tell who they are, because they grow their hair out long. They're wearing eyeliner. And usually, kind of cozied up next to another man.
Yeah.
Which is
kind
of crazy. But no, it's kind of, if you've seen, what is it? The Longest Yard?
Yeah.
Yeah. We have those. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. And I mean, that's fascinating. I mean, so I guess in terms of your own objective inside prison, are you trying to make progress with people to maybe, just bring reconciliation or just repentance in their life? I mean, how does, or like, how does that work for you in your own mind?
Yeah. It's, in some ways it's easier, in some ways it's harder, right?
Yeah.
I think the hardest part about, the gospel is that good news has to invade bad spaces. And, it's easy, I think, to convince people that God loves them. It's harder to convince them that they need saving. I think generally in our culture, people believe that they're really pretty good, that they're not bad, and that they need a savior.
Right.
And so that's where the trickiness is. But in prison, you're legally called guilty, right? Like the judge says you are guilty. And so in that way, it's a little easier, because everybody in there, unless they are gaslighting themselves into saying that they're innocent, and I'm sure there are some people that are innocent, but for the most part, they know that they're guilty, that they've done wrong. And so that's helpful, because they're ready to accept a savior, right? Mm-hmm. In other ways, it's more difficult. I've been surprised at the human's ability to advocate against their own depravity. So, yes, I killed this person, but, at least I'm not a chomo, a child molester, right?
Yeah.
And so even in prison, they have all these different levels of like, yeah, I'm guilty.
Like, this is worse than this. And
right.
This is worse than this.
Right.
Yeah,
and so, and here's me, a guy that hasn't been called guilty. And I'm saying, listen, I'm the worst of everybody, right? Like, I'm a pastor and I'm just as bad as the worst sex offender in here. So let's all get in line. We're all in the same sinking ship.
Yeah. That's an interesting, I bet that lands kind of interestingly with them, that they're kind of like, what?
It lands awkwardly.
Yeah.
And some of them are like, okay, that's just lip service. And some of them feel valued and accepted, like they can belong, which I believe that you can belong before you believe. And so in federal prison, it's interesting, because you get some of the crimes that aren't so sexy on TV. Like some of the crimes on TV that people want to say is like, okay, they were in a gang, or they sold drugs, or Grand Theft Auto. But man, what happens when you have an inmate that raped a child, right? Like that, some of that stuff.
That's what they perceive as being the worst.
Right. That's what they perceive as being the worst. And it's just, those are the people in my church, right? Like what happens if I've got a congregation full of people that had child pornography? So it's a little tricky, right? And I think even at the world standards, they'd say like, oh, okay, there's a special place in hell for those people. There's a special place in hell for all of us, right? Like we all need a savior. Mm-hmm. And so that's probably the hardest thing to get across, is like, there's not these levels of lostness.
Right.
We're all lost. We all need to get pulled back up.
Yeah. So I guess, I mean, it sounds like you get a lot of pushback on that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
just don't buy that.
Right. And it's easier to buy into. It's the levels are kind of, the religions are all kind of leveled in prison, right? Like it's just as rational to be Muslim to go and be a Buddhist as it is a Christian, right? So then they see like, oh, but you've got the Muslim faith, which is maybe a little bit more combative and divisive, and they're like, oh, I think I definitely identify more with that than the Christian faith, which is gentle and meek. And so, not to say that it's always gentle and meek, but turn the other cheek doesn't sound so hot in prison, right?
Sure.
Right. And so yeah, there's definitely some ministry trickiness with that. But I just depend on, it's true. It's rational.
Do you see a larger growth amongst Muslims or Christians, or what do you think is the fastest growing sect in prison?
A lot of people switch to Jewish in prison.
Why is that?
Because
the good meals.
Yeah, they get kosher meals. They get a lot of the cheesecake for Shavuot. They get treats during Passover. They can get specialty items, and every single Shabbat they get challah rolls and grape juice, to which they can go back and sell in their unit. And so there's a lot more benefits of being Jewish in prison. And so that's probably one of the fastest. Jewish and Muslim, I would say, are two very fast growing ones for those reasons. A lot of people can find protection in Islam. Those guys are willing to fight for the other guys.
Okay, interesting.
So, yeah.
So they're a lot more loyal to each other.
Yeah, which is kind of unfortunate. It's the same issue we see in American Christianity. We're so individualistic that.
So the Christians in prison don't really have each other's backs.
I don't know if they've I don't know. I can't imagine them fighting other people
for each other.
Right.
That's fascinating.
And I think it's kind of in the fiber of the religion, right? It's like throughout the Old Testament, Israel would, fight and conquer. You see, when you get to the New Testament, Jesus is laying down his life, and he's saying, listen, it's good to lay down a life for a brother. And so I don't know if any faith group has been put in that situation that I've seen firsthand in my prison. So it's hard to say, but that's generally what I would think.
Interesting. Do you deal with anyone who's like on death row or heading that direction?
No, those guys would still be at a higher security level. I do have some guys that are lifers in our prison, which those guys are more dangerous, right? Because they don't have much to lose.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So when they're a lifer,
yeah,
they're like, man, I'm a die in this prison. And so
they don't care.
Well, yeah. So
it takes like a real act of God for them to kind of behave better.
Right. What they can lose is they can get sent to a worse prison.
Yeah.
And then they have to deal with higher level of politics, which some guys like. They like the politics because they do it well. You've got shot callers that'll say, okay, in order for you to be protected in our gang, you've got to attack this person, attack this staff member, whatever. Versus non-political prisons, it's just kind of like everybody's just kind of waiting to get out.
In terms of the level of politics in your prison, would you consider it high, low, medium?
Almost non-existent.
Okay.
Yeah.
It can get a lot worse on the political level.
Oh, yeah.
In terms of violence, in terms of
sure
alliances, contraband, all that.
Well, contraband is a major issue. But some people would argue that heavy politics creates a safer prison. When we had a much larger Puerto Rican population at our prison.
Is that because everyone's held accountable more?
Exactly, right. Yeah. And so you kind of don't want one race to dominate the prison. You want it kind of evenly spread out. You want an even number of whites, even number of blacks, even number of Latinos, so that there's accountability.
Yeah.
When you have one race that dominates the rest, that's when it can become a little bit sketchy.
Yeah, because they basically run the show.
Right.
Interesting. So in terms of, I guess from your time there, have you seen any changes amongst the prisoners, amongst the staff? Like how has it evolved in whether politically or whatever, or systems that have been implemented? How has it evolved over time?
Yeah, I think probably every prison will go through ebbs and flows, kind of depending on who's in charge. We've got this warden or this captain that's in charge, and it'll kind of take a different dynamic, just depending on if they're very heavy-handed, if they're not very heavy-handed. And so since I've been there, it's been pretty steady paced. I don't know if it's gotten too much worse or too much better. I mean, we've had a handful of riots, but for the most part, it was inmates attacking inmates. So when it comes to staff assaults, I think we've been really very safe, which is a blessing. I'm always trying to push towards positive change in their spiritual lives. That's my big goal. Yeah. When I'm showing up there, I'm like, prison politics is whatever, contraband, obviously we're trying to shut it down, but it's like, I believe in heaven and hell. I believe everybody's going to end up in one of those two areas. And so that's my main mission in going into the prisons, is introducing them to the good news.
Yeah. And do you feel like you see, I would imagine you probably see some stuff on a day-to-day basis where you're like, whoa, that was God. Like,
oh yeah. I mean, gosh, what's beautiful is like the further that these guys are gone, according to societal norms, the more amazing it is, the amazing grace, right? Yeah. When these guys are, cast out by society, when they're considered too far gone by society, and then they receive radical life change, it's amazing. And you can almost see it physically on their face. Like when they accept Christ, it doesn't say that, the Bible doesn't tell us that they go from old to new. It's from dead to alive. Mm-hmm. And so like there's this new life in them when they're restored and they've got this new light in their eyes. It's amazing to witness.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. And I mean, how do you deal with the Jews or the Muslims? Do you ever talk to them about Christianity, or do you just kind of respect what they're doing?
Yeah, it's tricky. Being a chaplain in any field, whether it's in a hospital, whether it's in the military, whether it's in the prisons, the dirty little word is proselytizing. Nobody wants you to proselytize, which just means convert. Right. Being a government employee, it's important for the government to know that I'm not in there trying to change Jews into Christians. Trying to
interesting. So even the government's like, can't do that.
Right. Like that's interesting. That's part of our training. Which becomes tricky as a Christian, right? Because we have a command to go and make disciples of all the nations, right? And so
so how do you balance those that
well, I try to lead my congregation in a way that they're making disciples, right? And if anybody has questions, of course I'm not going to coach them in accordance to the Quran. They know that they're coming to a Christian pastor. And so I will try to give them as much spiritual support as I can. But, usually people come up to me and they're like, what does the Bible say about this? Right. I'm not really put in.
It's probably not a big secret.
Right.
I mean, they're watching you all day long anyway.
Right. Exactly.
It's not a big secret, like what you're doing here. Mm-hmm. Interesting. I would assume you spend 8 hours, 9 hours a day in there. I mean, is it like exhausting? Is it?
It can be. It's funny because I mean, I'm sitting there in my office, like responding to emails in a stab vest, right? So it's like, it's such a unorthodox work environment. So it certainly can be exhausting when you think about, okay, I've got all these different inmates they've all got their agendas. They're all trying to get something. They're all trying to figure out really how to get home, which is an okay thing to be thinking about, how can I get home? But you've got to kind of be one step ahead. There's a book that everybody reads before entering into this profession. It's called Games That Criminals Play. And you learn about the games that they try to build rapport with you in certain ways. Right. They're in the training when you're getting hired on, they give you all these different scenarios. They're like, say your orderly, who's an inmate that you love, asks for you to leave some of your burger behind in the trash can. He says he hasn't had a burger in 15 years, which is, sometimes true. Sometimes they haven't had some of these outside things in forever. And what do you do in that case? Do you leave part of your burger in the trash can and he'll go back and eat it later? And so there's all these different tactics that they play in order to get you to compromise in small ways in order to down the road get you to compromise in much bigger ways.
Right.
And so you've got to always.
So they play the long game with you.
Oh yeah,
all the time,
big time,
because they got time.
They got all the time in the world.
Lots of time.
Yep, all the time in the world.
So they're sitting in their cell thinking, they're game theorying out like, how can I inch Bob along to do what I want him to do eventually.
Mm-hmm. And they know right away which staff members are soft, which staff members are hard.
Yeah.
And
what's your rep?
Well, the goal is always to be firm,
Yeah.
fair, and consistent.
Yeah.
That's always. And really, both extremes are liabilities. If you're too soft or if you're overly aggressive, it's typically insecurity.
Yeah.
And so both of those types, right? Or fear.
Yeah.
Both of those types are very compromisable. But if you're firm, fair, and consistent, then typically they're not going to even, go down that road with you, because they can get a shot, which a shot is, a mark on their record. So if they assaulted somebody, it's a shot, right? That's why they call them shot callers. Because the shot callers are telling the person below them, hey, go and take this shot. So there's series of shots where they can, anything from something very basic, like they've got something they're not supposed to have, like, some custom pair of pants that they, made in the workshop, or something very serious, like they've got a knife.
Yeah.
They get a shot for that. So the shot callers will tell them to take that shot.
Yeah. I would say you're probably seeing you probably have to be really good at seeing 5 or 10 steps ahead of their tactics.
Right. Yeah.
So I would imagine that you've probably gotten to the place now where you can smell some of this stuff a mile away.
What
are they all trying to get? That's what I'm curious. Is it drugs, knives, burgers? Like what are they after really?
What's funny is they'll anything that sets them apart, anything that's different is so funny to see. Like if and it's almost like in a video game when everybody starts a new video game, they all have the basic characters. And then after you've been playing it for a year, you've got all these upgraded skins, right? You've got all the accessories.
Right.
When you see somebody new to prison, they don't have any of the upgraded skins yet. Right. Like everybody else has cool stuff and they have nothing. So all of them are trying to get something
cool.
And so they can trade. There's an economy in prison where it's like, oh man, you got those cool sunglasses from, La Tuna in El Paso, the federal prison there. And he's got these shoes from this prison. And so we can trade. The economy in prison is stamps. And so you can trade, okay, I'll buy those sunglasses off you for 10 stamps. And so throughout their time there, based on their side hustles, whether it's something honest or dishonest, they maybe have an in to get drugs in the prison, or maybe it's something honest, like they're cutting more hair on the side and they're a good barber, so people pay extra to get them to cut their hair. Or they're
do they all have jobs in prison?
Yeah.
Okay.
So everybody's supposed to have a job, and it'll either be working in one of the departments, like I have inmates that work directly for me, or it can be working with the warehouse called Unicore, and they get government contracts. So right now they sew uniforms for the military.
Okay.
So everybody's got a job.
Yeah.
And some of that leads to side hustles, right? Like if I wasn't careful with the chapel, it would be a great side hustle for one of the orderlies to be stealing the bread and grape juice from the Jews and selling it in their unit. And they can take the grape juice in particular and turn it into hooch, which is prison wine. They use that to make prison wine, and
they are creative.
And then they sell it for stamps, in their unit. And so everybody's got a side hustle based on opportunity.
I mean, it seems like these guys have a high level of ingenuity.
Yeah.
You're probably watching this being like, dude, like go out and start your own business. Like you don't have to do crime.
Right. Yeah. And some of those guys realize that, which is amazing.
Yeah.
I'll never forget. I was walking into the lieutenant's office one time and I see this super cool brick oven pizza. And I was like, where did this, I figured it got brought in, from the street. And they're like, no, we got that from the unit. They said, look over there. There's an actual brick oven like the oven.
They made
somebody made an oven in their cell for brick oven pizza. And I guess they had stolen enough materials.
I bet that's a flex.
Oh, totally. Yeah. And it's funny too, because you'll see the guy and you're like, I see that guy every day. I know, I didn't realize that he was also the baker, they have that side hustle.
Yeah.
So he had this whole brick oven in his cell that he was baking pizzas for people. And he'd even have another guy go and be the delivery guy.
Yeah.
And this is all based on the stamp system, right?
Yeah,
it's like, 5 stamps for a pizza or whatever it is.
Right.
But man, he had a really cool brick oven that he made in prison that he wired into a wall and was able to run this brick oven.
That is fascinating.
Yeah.
Do you ever see anyone try to escape? Is that ever a thing, or is it just too hard?
It's too hard and not worth it at my level.
Yeah.
To be where they're at down here, they don't have many years left, and if they tried to escape, they would be in prison the rest of their lives.
Yeah. Too risky.
Yeah, too risky. That said, we did at the prison down here in Miami. There was an attempted escape back in like the 70s where somebody tried to fly in with a helicopter to pick up an inmate, and I guess too many inmates tried to jump on this helicopter and it crashed.
Oh my gosh.
And so now they have wires that go over the top of the prison in case anybody tries to drop in there with a helicopter.
Do an airlift.
Yeah.
That's wild.
But with it being an outside compound, we do really struggle with drones. So with, our technology, modern technology, guys will get their family members to have a drone, fly it over the prison, and make drops in the yard.
Oh, wow.
And so anytime we see a drone, we're like, okay, got to shut down the compound, send everybody back, search everybody, make sure that they didn't have any drugs dropped.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Cell phones is a big contraband item.
I would think like the guards would just try to shoot it.
Well, yeah, I mean, so you shouldn't shoot in the air, right? That's, somebody can be killed from a bullet falling down. So we're told immediately, if you see a drone, don't shoot at it, even though that'd be fun, right?
I would imagine you have a relationship with some of the guards.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, is that kind of like a different breed of human to be a prison guard?
Yeah. There are some great prison guards and there are some guys that you're like, you're not going to last very long.
Yeah.
And because sometimes it's easier to try to flip a guard than to get a drone. And if you can get a guy that some of these guards are working with these inmates 80 hours a week, they're getting all this overtime and they stay with them for a long time. So they get to know these guys pretty closely. And some of them you worry like, okay, are they going to be able to flip this guy into bringing in cell phones, bringing in drugs? That's where it gets a little bit sketchy.
So you're seeing stuff show up, cell phones, drugs.
Yeah.
And so the prison administration has to be like, okay, so like, how is this happening?
Exactly.
And there has to be an investigation.
Exactly. Always. And so
there's constantly stuff coming in.
Right.
Drones, drones. So somebody on the inside is always compromised.
Hopefully not.
Yeah.
You would hope that, it's coming in through drones or through food service, for example, if they were hiding, some vapes and some cell phones in the packages in the warehouse because our camp inmates prepare a lot of the items to go into the low security prison. And so if they could get their hands on some contraband, they could hide it in, some of the boxes and then send it through food service. And then the food service workers who are inmates, they prepare all the food, would be able to receive it. And so these are all things that we know about, obviously. And so we've shut it down. Yeah. And so we have an eye on it. But that's just one of a million leaks that there could be for guys to sneak stuff in.
Interesting. And I find it fascinating that the government really, the U.S. government really defines your role as kind of just, someone who to provide spiritual support, right?
Yeah.
That's really your main, and I would say you're almost kind of in a defensive stance, so to speak, in terms of you're just fielding questions. You can't really...
Well, I can lead my congregation well, and I do, and I preach hard to them.
Yeah.
And so I care a lot about once they identify as Christian. Yeah. Then I'm like, okay, let's get rolling.
Yeah.
So it is a little bit of a defensive spot, but you you work through the life change of the people that are in your church.
Is there any risk what if a prisoner says, "Hey, Bob tried to evangelize me," or
Yeah, that happens.
I would imagine they pull that card quite a bit if that's a no-no for you.
Yeah, and it's it's not going to get a ton of attention.
Yeah,
that's pretty low on the list of priorities. So like for example, I would put posting out saying this pastor is coming on Sunday, just letting everybody know. And then I put at the bottom, everybody's welcome. Well, some guy was, printed it out and was trying to show the administration like, oh, he's evangelizing. He said, everybody's welcome.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, oh, come on, man.
Yeah.
And they're like, nah, man, that's not, it's true.
Yeah. I would imagine that like any angle they can think of, they'll try it.
Yeah.
Fascinating, man. That's really interesting. And I guess when you read that book, what were some of your key takeaways about prisoners or criminals before you went into prison?
Before I went into prison?
Yeah.
Well, I think the biggest thing is that they work slowly, right?
Yeah.
They build that relationship with you, build the rapport, and then catch you and then get you, right?
Do you ever feel like you've been caught?
No, well, I haven't done anything that was outside of policy.
Yeah. But even like just something that betrayed trust or.
Well, I've had inmates be suggestive before, which that's really interesting, where they're like, hey, my buddy's in the shoe. Could you let him know that I contact his family for him? And I'm like, that's against policy. I can't let you know that.
So yeah, even like just little stuff like
that's how they start.
Yeah.
They start little.
Yeah.
And then once they got you, then they're going to be like, oh, well, I need you to bring in this cell phone because I know what you did and I'll tell on you. And then you feel like, oh my gosh, I'm guilty. I have to start doing what he's saying.
Oh, interesting.
Right. So they'll blackmail you essentially, right?
Yeah.
And so, and in federal prison, you got some guys that are extremely wealthy too. Like some of these guys that are committing these white collar crimes, they made a lot of money. And so
do any of those assets get confiscated after?
Mostly.
Yeah.
But not completely.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of guys that still have a lot of money that are in there. And that's what they try to use, right? Like in prison, it's funny in our world where we have Cash App and Venmo because the families are like Cash Apping each other, Venmoing each other money.
Yeah.
And so if you're wealthy on the outside and you're in prison now, you've got protection because you can Cash App somebody else's family on the outside and you'll be
give
all
the
right.
word that
You'll be all right. Yeah.
Interesting.
But it's also the liability in federal prison where they're like, hey, I see that you like cars. I have a 65 Mustang. Hey, I love that Mustang, and I have a classic cars too and all this stuff. They're like, hey, I've got this Lambo on the outside. You can drive it whenever you want. And so they'll try to figure out what you like and see if they can help you out.
You're like, I don't like anything, man. Sorry.
Yeah. So they kind of tell you at the beginning, they're like, it's actually cool for you to just make up an entire false lifestyle. Like somebody asks you where you're from, you're like, Alaska, and just make up this whole.
So they can't figure out your hot buttons.
Right. You can't figure out where your family is, all that. Because that's the other thing, man. They'll run your plates.
Yeah.
Everybody, it's funny in the prison, I noticed this one day, I'm like, everybody backs in. Well, it's so that they can't see your plates from the housing units because they'll get your license plate number, run your plates, and find out where you live.
Oh my gosh!
So
they'll send somebody to your house or something.
They could, yeah. And we've had those threats before where you have a staff member that was maybe pressing a little bit too hard, and they have a gang that's we've had hits on staff members, and there's been times where those have been followed through and times where it's been shut down.
Man.
So, yeah, so it can be risky.
Really watch your back there.
Right. And so even with this podcast, I'll ask that you don't put my last name in the title.
Yeah.
So because all they know is Chaplain Hostler, and they can Google that. Yeah. And if they get on Google and see our podcast, they'll find you. And
they're going to come for me.
Right. Well, they'll find all of it, right? Yeah. And they'll start to figure out, wait a minute. And they'll be on Instagram too. On their cell phones they're not supposed to have.
Yeah.
And so they can kind of triangulate and figure out who's who and create fake accounts, and all they got is time, man.
Wow.
Figure all this out.
Well, that gives me some things to think about.
Just don't put my last name in the title.
We're going to scrap this episode.
No. You'll be all right. The good thing is, like, I'm good to these guys. Yeah. And so they want to take, like, they're not wanting to put a hit on me. So I'm like a good staff member, professional.
Glad to hear it. I guess I'll be okay too then.
Yeah. Be careful. Yeah.
Interesting, man. Well, I guess, is there anything else that you would want to kind of shed light on in this world that we haven't covered?
I don't know. Yeah. I think one of the biggest things is like, these guys, when they're in prison, I truly believe that, that there's a hope and a future for them. And that's the whole reason that I invest in them. A lot of these guys, even the guys that have committed terrible, terrible crimes, many of them didn't get the same start that we did. Yeah. Right. And that's important to know, is that hurting people hurt people.
Yeah.
And oftentimes the sex offenders were themselves attacked as a child.
That's very common.
And that's not a cop-out for their behaviors,
sure,
because we all have to take responsibility for our behaviors. But there's a whole group of men that are estranged from society that I really believe still have a future. And it's been really cool to see our current administration and past administrations create some legislature to be able to help these guys out through First Step Act and Second Chance Act and a lot of that stuff.
Do you see with the First Step Act, do you now that was, I guess that was, explain to me how that works exactly.
Yeah. So they can take classes in order to reduce their sentence, and their classes are based on their psychological needs. Yeah. So for example, I just started a First Step Act class called Faith-Based Conflict Management. And they can take this class in order to reduce their time, and it reduces their recidivism level for if they have a need for anger or hostility or cognition. And so if they have that need based on our psychological assessment, like, hey, this guy really struggles with anger and hostility, they can take my class and I can give them tools to be able to help regulate their emotions. Some of them never learned to regulate their emotions as a child.
Does that help them reduce their sentence?
Yeah. And so they can get up to 15, I think it's up to 15 days a month off for being actively programming in First Step Act.
Yeah.
And some people don't qualify for First Step. Like if they're sex offender, they don't currently qualify for that.
Right.
But a lot of people do, and they can get their sentence reduced while learning and growing and trying to become a better member of society. And it's cool, the prison system, when I look at it, the things that they have available are all things that we need as human beings. Yeah. So they have chapel, so they need their faith. They have education. They need to grow in their knowledge. They have rec. They need to learn how to exercise. But most importantly, they're surrounded by community. They're surrounded by guys. Yeah. They're talking all the time.
Yeah.
And I think that the real epidemic for this world right now on the outside is isolation and loneliness. Yeah. And so when they're saturated
this
by
is
all
a problem with non-criminal males too.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of them ended up in that place because they were in isolation and lonely.
Yeah.
And they committed crimes that they would have never committed. They said things that they would have never said that put them in there. And so it's cool to see this holistic restoration process. Like there's a lot of things wrong with our prisons, a lot, but there's some really cool things that are great about our restoration process for these guys.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, Bob, God bless you for the work you're doing, man.
Thank you.
This has been a really fascinating conversation. And we'll put limited info in the description below. I can't give you too much. Yeah. In fact, maybe we'll just put no info. We'll just put this
random chaplain.
Yeah, random chaplain.
I appreciate that.
But hey, thanks for stopping by. Really fascinating conversation, and good luck to you in the future.
Yeah, thank you so much, man. This has been great.
Definitely, thanks.